What's up YouTube, PiLiPiLi here, finally coming at you with a follow-up video to the 420 challenge where I'll be showing you guys a 2-base all-in that follows the 4-gate glaive adept build. For those who follow my stream and my tournament performance, know that this build brought me a lot of wins against top Zergs on ladder in tournaments. So I want to share that build with you. It's a very strong 2-base all-in that I originally took from Australian player PvZ. And we'll do things fairly similarly to how we did our very first video. I'll show you guys the replays. I'll post a Google Doc that will have the outline of the early game and the follow-up too. I'm not gonna go over early game as much because, you know, I already made a guide on it before. I'll post a link to my very first guide on that in the description, so you guys can click on that if you're interested in the early game. But we'll be mostly focusing on the follow-up itself, and we'll do the same as last time. For those who post a replay of them winning the game on ladder with that particular build, you can also get a free replay analysis from me. So same as last time, if you post one replay in the comment section of you winning a ladder game with this build and one replay that you just want me to analyze for the next YouTube video, feel free to do that, and let's get started. Alright, so this is the first replay I chose to show you guys. It is a ladder game against Namshar, and the early game went perfectly fine. As I said before, if you guys interested in the first 4 minutes of the game and how to execute the build itself, I'll post a link in the description for the guide on that. But we'll mostly talk now about the adept movements themselves and the all-in follow-up and how to properly micro your units. So here at 4:35, I have 9 adepts. I'm supposed to have attacked a little earlier, but with 8 adepts, I think something went wrong with my build a little bit, but I don't think it's a big deal. So I have 34 probes. You know, it's a very regular setup. The glaives are just about to finish. I have 2 gases. I have Observer on the way, and our opponent has 17 lings, more lings in production, Roach Warren about to finish, 1 spine, 5 queens. You know, it's a fairly similar setup to what you will see. Some Zergs will go for 2 gases and then just go more roaches, less lings. Some people will play like this, where they mine very little gas, but they spam a bunch of lings and queens and even like a spine or 2. The first things first is understanding how to move your adepts, right? Because I covered how to do the build order, but I didn't really cover how to move around with your adepts. So this is the part that a lot of people get wrong, because a lot of it comes to experience and intuition. But there are certain guidelines on like what adepts can fight and what they cannot. But in this game in particular, I kind of had an easy time because I show up, I attack the queen, I get the queen, and then I get into the shade. So this is like a decision for me now, right? So I either finish the shade and fight over here, or I cancel the shade and then I'm stuck fighting 3 queens here. Plus I know the lings are close here, right? Like this is my vision. So I know he can easily turn around with lings, since you know, obviously they have speed, and actually surround my adepts here and kill them, and my prism is not really close enough to pick up properly. So I decide to finish the shade. And it ends up being perfect because his Roach Warren placement was also kind of poor, which created an extra surface space for my adepts. So we traded super well here against lings, but we're not killing too many drones, as he still has 39, he only lost 2 so far. But we managed to get out and do a little bit more damage. That was kind of lucky for me. And at the same time, we're working in more adepts, and Observer comes in. The Observer follow-up is usually not that important, but it doesn't hurt to have it. And actually, he's down to 27 drones. So this was a disastrous start for him after that second shade. But what I do is I shade kind of backwards. I snipe the creep tumor, and the shade just finishes, and we have all adepts still on full HP. The shields will all be regen. So I'm fine here. He tries to fight, I just pick up 1 by 1 as soon as the shields are gone, and I'm cool. The important part at home was that at around 5-minute mark, I started the immortal production, and I also added the second gas, and I saturated those gases back too. So overall, you want to have around 41 probes with this build. You want to have 8 gateways and 2 immortals. That is your baseline. It's fairly simple because while you're microing your adepts, you will always end up floating middles. So at some point, once your adept pressure kind of chills off and you don't have much to do anymore, you look back at home and you drop down 4 gateways. And you already have your immortal production on the way. That's an important part. I feel like at around 5-minute mark, that's where like the third shade comes in and like the fighting kind of ends. So see, as soon as this micro ends, the first thing I do is I start an immortal, because like I'm not doing anything anymore, so might as well start an immortal. And now I have 3 gases. I'm slowly resaturating the gases, and if you pay attention to how the build order went, you pull off gases a little earlier, so you only have 2 probes on gas, and then you just go up to 8 gateways. You make another immortal right after. You make a bunch of pylons. You do whatever damage you can with the prism, but it's really not necessary. Sometimes it's better to just focus, you know, on getting your gateways up and not getting supply blocked. But as soon as you get 2 immortals, you keep warping in the depths. You move out across the map. I do a little more damage here with the depths because I know I can unload, kill a link, click out back. And this is kind of your timing. It will vary a lot. I'll post like 4 to 5 replays in the Google Doc so you guys can see more examples of this. But the timing will vary because sometimes during the aggression you'll lose a lot more adepts. So your timing will not be 7-minute mark, but it'll be like 7:30 for example. But as long as you kind of get this unit composition at around 20 adepts, 2 immortals, prism, and you know, stalker in the wall with 41 probes, 8 gateways, this is like one of the strongest setups I think, because you come so early and Zerg has to be on low drone count, especially if they lose some drones. But to defend this build, Zerg has to stay low drone count, so then they drone up back, especially if they lost some drones, but that leaves them no larva to make actual units, so then your follow-up becomes super strong. And there's a very easy thing you can do where you just shade the entire army on top of the ramp, and you could just finish the shade and bring 2 immortals, but if the whole army pulls back, you just cancel it and you get in a super good position. And you just can keep doing that back and forth. So you see I'm warping in more, I go up the ramp again, or I think I should. I guess I don't even care at this game where I just kind of fight him straight up. I mean, he had Ravagers, so he could always break the force fields if I decided to warp in sentries. But I guess this game I was just far ahead. I just fought him straight up, and that kind of worked. But I'll show another replay where I actually ended up going up the ramp.
But you played better.
So once again, 8 gateways set up, 41 probes. As you can see, all my nexuses are also low in energy. If you have APM for that, you gotta be chrono boosting your gateways. And yeah, it's one of the strongest follow-ups. But let's show you a couple more examples, because this game I got a lot of damage done with adepts, and that will not always happen to you. Okay, so this is the second game I'm gonna show you guys. It is against Solar. It was a tournament game in EPT Cup, and the only thing that you need to know about early game that I scouted as soon as the game started, I blocked his natural. That's why the third base is his natural in this game in particular. I also messed up my build a little bit, where as you can see it's 433 and I'm supply blocked. I can only warp in 2 adepts, which wasn't that big of a deal, but we are, you know, 10 seconds late at least on our first attack, and that kind of allowed him to have a much better setup. You know, he has 10 links and 3 roaches on the way, and they finish exactly where the adept shade. So this game I decided not to do aggressive shade because I knew my timing was late, so I just canceled the creep tumor, push a little bit, wait for the third warping. And this is something that is totally fine to do. You don't have to suicide your first adepts, like first 8 adepts, no matter what. A lot of the times, if you see that they have a lot of army or your timing is a little messed up, just wait for the third warping. Once you have 12 adepts, you can actually perhaps do stuff. But Solar actually went for the 3 Ravager build, and the point of the 3 Ravager defense is that 3 Biles, 1 shot a prism. That's kind of the idea there. So I tried shading, and there's just way too many things, so I have to retreat, because if you look at the production tab, there's 46 links, 4 Ravagers actually, and I only have 11 adepts. I'm like, nope, can't do that, so I just recall, right? So in comparison to last game, where Nabshar was down to like 27 workers after the build, this is a completely different story. Solar is on 42 workers, he has 55 links, 4 Ravagers to just 13 adepts. But I stay calm, I do the same thing. I go up to, you know, 40 something probes, I get 3 gases, I'm chrono boosting immortals, I'm adding more gateways, I'm keep warping in adepts, I deny the gateway scout. The only, I guess, interesting part about this, it's very important to take this gas. It depends on the map. For example, on the last map, on Jagannatha, it didn't matter at all. But on this map, it's important to take this gas and not this gas, because Overload will always be parked here, and if they can see that this gas is not taken, they always know it's an all-in follow-up. But if you take this gas, they have no idea if this gas is taken or not. So they have to prepare for the potential DTs, they have to prepare for potential macro follow-up, disruptor drops, whatever it is, and they have to drone up more, which is exactly what happened here, where he thinks that because he has so many units, I just can't take a third, and so that he can just drone up, and I'll just be behind in macro because my third is so late. But instead, we're just all in, and he goes to 65 workers, which is a huge mistake, goes to Spire, goes to Roach Warren speed was kind of super delayed by him, which was kind of a mistake. So we show up again at 7-minute mark, around the same timing. We have a bunch of adepts, we have 2 immortals. Only 39 probes this time. I didn't resaturate those gases, but I didn't have any gas problems. And this is where I think the most powerful part of this build is because his army was kind of split in two. I can just do this. I shade up the ramp, I pick up 2 immortals with the prism, and I drop on top of the ramp, and now we're in this super good position where he has to go up the ramp against a bunch of adepts and 2 immortals, where I just don't have to worry about it. He tries to pre-bile the adepts, but he didn't time it right, bile his own units, adept shade on top, kill everything. I mean, obviously this game he over-droned by a lot, but I feel like even if there was only 50 drones, so a little more roaches, the outcome would kind of be the same, because that wasn't even close. So it's a very strong build. I definitely recommend you guys trying it out. It's one of the few 2-base all-ins that still work consistently on the highest level from what I can see. I mean, there's a couple others, such as like Disruptor Drop and the Colossus all-in. There's a few like Archon Drop and the Immortal Charge Lot. But for me personally, and I'm a big fan of all-ins, this is one of the strongest for sure. But you just need to kind of get your timings down, be able to do some damage with the depths, and just have a very strong follow-up. And yeah, once again, 8 gateways, 2 immortals, and you just pick up immortals and go up the ramp. So I think it's a fairly similar, simple build, so I don't think you guys have too many problems. It's mostly about executing the early game build, which is much harder, and it's all about like not losing your adepts for free by accidentally shading into like 10 roaches or something. But the follow-up itself is fairly simple. I'll drop a lot more replays in the Google Doc and the YouTube video description, I guess, and so you guys can watch that. And for those who post replays of them winning a ladder game with this build, also post the replay that you just want me to analyze, unless you want me to analyze the replay of you executing this build. That works as well. I'll give you guys a deadline. I'll post a deadline in the YouTube's description, because I'm not really sure what the good deadline would be yet, but I'll figure it out. And yeah, everyone who posts the replays before that, then we'll make a separate YouTube video where I analyze you guys' replays. We did last time, and I think it was very helpful for individuals who completed the 420 challenge, and I'm kind of looking to do the same here. And yeah, thank you guys for watching as per usual. If you like this kind of content, let me know in the comment section. Drop the video a like, subscribe, watch me some other videos. I post a lot of content that is not exactly guide related, but I also think it's really good. And if you guys have any questions about this build, also feel free to ask it in the comment section. I'll reply to each one of you. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.